Welcome to the Growing Your Business podcast, a program created to answer the question, what's in it for me, for both the business and their customers. Today's guest had this to say.
When ChatGPT dropped in November of 22, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to transform the way we create content. It makes it so much faster and so much easier. So the timing just happened to be a little perfect too, because it dropped November of 22. Podfest is in January of 23. So 6 weeks after ChatGPT dropped to the public, I'm on stage in front of 1,500 people giving a talk about how to use ChatGPT as a creator.
Now, stay tuned as we hear more on their values, mission, and why they continue to grow their business. So joining me today on the Growing Your Business podcast is Larry Roberts with Red Hat Media. And you can tell by what he's wearing, he's true to his brand. How you doing, Larry?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me.
Well, great. You are very accomplished in media generation. You know, obviously, I have on my list, you're a Signal Award-winning podcast producer, a professional speaker. In an initial phone call we had a little while back, you were talking about an event you were doing, I believe, in Florida. Also, you're a brand strategist and an AI consultant. So tell me, of those things, what makes you really stand out?
I think it's the combination of the three.
Yeah.
And really, I think it's the brand story behind why I do all three of those things. Sure. Because, you know, it all started off with podcasting. And I started a podcast just for fun. Sure. You know, I had heard, go figure, an episode of the Joe Rogan podcast, and there were a couple of comedians on there. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could just get on here and tell stupid jokes. And I ran out, bought me a microphone, and started my first podcast. And I did that for probably about 3 years. And then I went to even longer than that, probably 4 years or so. And then I went to my first podcasting conference. And that gave an entirely new perspective on what podcasting was, and could be. So once I realized it was an industry and there was an opportunity to drive it as a business, it completely transformed my perspective on podcasting. And as I grew and learned more and more, I went to more and more conferences. Eventually, I ended up at Podfest in Orlando, Florida. That was in 2020, was my first Podfest. I got very lucky, and they have a trivia night, Friday night of the conference every year. And our table happened to win. And if we won, we got to go on stage, we got our picture made, and we got to meet the founder of Podfest, Chris Kremitzos. And I met Chris, and man, we just hit it off, and we became best good pals. And now today, I help produce the show. I write the newsletter for Podfest. I'm very ingrained in the Podfest ecosystem. So going to that conference in 2020 changed everything that I do today.
And that's a who's who. From what I looked at the flyer, I guess that was out there of who attends Podfest, and that's everybody.
Yeah,
You know, at a certain level anyway.
Sure,
you know?
And even at the higher levels.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there's two big conferences that are out there. There's Podcast Movement and there's Podfest. Both amazing conferences, just geared slightly towards different audiences. Podfest is really geared towards the independent podcast creator.
Yes.
And that's the environment that I love. I mean, there's a definitely room for professional / corporate / high-end media production as well, and that's more of Podcast Movement's focus. So there's room for both of us to play in that sandbox, but I just love the independent creators. I love working with them. I love the creativity. I love the freedom that you have there. I'm kind of a nonconformist in a lot of ways.
Sure.
And that just gives you that freedom to be you and be authentic and show up as your true self. And I just fell in love with that entire community.
Real quick, the Red Hat. There's an origin story there.
There is an origin story there. So I was speaking, I believe it was Podfest, as a matter of fact. I can't remember. I think it was maybe 21 in Tampa, Florida at the Amalie Arena. And at the time, I didn't really have this brand. I didn't have this brand at all, in all honesty. But what I did during that talk, I wore a Supreme hat. And if you're not familiar with Supreme, it's just a lifestyle brand. All their stuff is red, and it just says Supreme in big block letters across the front of the hat. And I gave a talk, and a good friend of mine, Alex Sanfilippo, we give each other crap every time we talk, you know, and we did our little thing, and he goes, but seriously, he goes, dude, why are you wearing that Supreme hat? And I go, man, I'm just trying to be cool, you know, trying to fit in. He goes, are they paying you? And I'm like, well, I'm a 47-year-old white male. I go, odds are they pay me not to wear their stuff, in all honesty. Yeah. And we chuckled about it. He goes, then stop wearing it. He goes, but I love the red. He goes, I can see you all the way across the arena. Yep. And that just resonated with me. So I went home, tossed the Supreme hat, and actually now it's in a display case, but took the Supreme hat off, bought a $6 unbranded red hat, gave it about a 5-degree tilt to the right side, and the red hat guy was born.
That's terrific. And that was a really fun part of our earlier conversation.
Yeah.
It's like, I like that it's just a slightly off center.
Yeah,
and that's important.
It's 100. That's how I've worn my hat since I was a kid.
Yeah.
It's just me, and that goes back to that authenticity that we talked about just a second ago. You got to be authentic to your brand. I went through probably a half a dozen, if not more, brands while trying to establish myself in this podcast space, and none of them worked because I was trying to force a narrative. I was trying to force a brand. I was trying to conform me to a logo because I didn't even know what a brand was.
Right.
I went to the creative market online and found a logo, and I'm like, oh, that looks like a podcast logo, and that's my new brand.
Sure.
And it just doesn't work. But the hat, it works because I wear hat. I always wear hats, always have.
Yeah.
And this just allows me to be me. And honestly, now that I understand branding, the hat's not the brand. It's just that identifier.
Right.
And it's just like with the hat and it being red and I'm 6'4" and about 240.
Yeah.
It's a beacon. And I mean, I'm a big beacon as it is already. So it just helps me stand out.
Yeah.
It helps initiate those conversations. Then once I'm having those conversations, they go, oh, you're the brand. You bring the value. It's your business values, your experience, your knowledge, and your understanding of the needs of all the other creators that are out. Not all the, other creators that are out there. That's what that brand is.
Sure.
And once I learned that and differentiated that, made all the difference in the world.
And that happened, I say it happened to me because a few years back, my wife bought a blue cowboy hat for me. And she said, buddy, you look great in that. And I was like, okay. And then I had a few headshots taken. Before you know it, I was wearing it everywhere to events. People don't, right now I'm not wearing a hat and you can see I'm not, but a lot of people locally don't recognize me without a cowboy hat.
I get it all the time.
Right over my shoulder. Same deal.
People don't know my name. They don't know my name, but if you go to the red hat guy, they go, oh, yeah, I know who that cat is. Yeah.
I think it's Larry.
Yeah.
That's right. That's Larry.
I get it all the time.
Awesome. That's me. So quick thought there. While you've been building this brand and becoming, what you are from the podcast industry, AI has gone from almost nothing to where it is now.
Sure.
And you've been along that wave the whole way, which gives you your expertise. Tell me about your AI products that are on your website and how you got started in AI and how you stay ahead of what's going on, or at least on top of it.
Yeah. It's tough because it's evolving so quickly. I mean, things are changing in that environment literally every day. But I got started because in my corporate career, I was a business intelligence analyst. And we were taking massive amounts of data from different data sources, bringing it in, normalizing that data, transforming it, and then reloading it into a new database so we could use it and report on it and do forecasting and all that fun stuff. And a lot of that on the back end is AI driven. Yeah. So I had a elementary understanding of AI and how to leverage it. Then when ChatGPT dropped in November of 22, I was like, oh my gosh. This is going to transform the way we create content. It makes it so much faster and so much easier. So the timing just happened to be a little perfect too, because it dropped November of 22. Podfest is in January of 23. So 6 weeks after ChatGPT dropped to the public, I'm on stage in front of 1,500 people giving a talk about how to use ChatGPT as a creator. And it just took off. I mean, there were all kinds of different people in the audience, and I was instantly branded as the AI guy in the podcast space. And it opened up opportunities in the automotive space and in a variety of other industries. And I just started speaking about it, and people started coming to me asking about AI. And honestly, my focus is primarily ChatGPT.
Yes.
There's so many tools that are out there. More and more tools are coming on the market each and every day. It's literally impossible to be proficient at every one of them. So I literally have 2 subscriptions to AI tools, ChatGPT and Claude.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Claude as well. Claude it's very similar to ChatGPT, but the large language model on the back end, basically the database on the back end, sounds a little bit different right out of the box than ChatGPT does. Sometimes if you're new to using ChatGPT and you don't know how to train it, it sounds very sterile, very academic. And Claude sounds a little more conversational right out the gate. So it makes it much easier for beginners to get in and have valuable conversations with these chatbots. So I'll usually take somebody, start them on Claude, then move them over to ChatGPT.
So Claude is the starter then?
Some people will disagree with that statement.
Okay.
And it's only a starter for me because of the conversationality of the interaction that the user can have right out of the gate.
So use case for either one. What do you say is the primary use case? You kind of went into it a little bit there.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the primary things we use it for is ideation. I have a podcast called Branded. Sorry, shameless plug.
No, absolutely. Yeah, and it'll be in the show notes.
I think we're 100 episodes in now, and we've talked a lot about branding. And me and my co-host Sarah Losi, we'll sit and we'll go, well, what's the topic for this week? Well, I don't know. All right, let's go to ChatGPT and figure out what we're going to talk about. Then we do some deep research and we get everything we need to know, all the show notes we need for that particular show, and we do it for planning. Me personally, one of the things that I offered on my website as well is I help people write their books with AI.
Yes.
So I had an interesting thing that came up. I flew out to San Diego to do a talk for Entrepreneurs Organization, and it was an AI talk. The talk went extremely well. I felt really good coming off the stage, like I had just won a title fight or something. And we had the happy hour afterwards, and guys were coming up going, "Hey man, great talk, really appreciate it. Would love to buy your book." And I'm like, well, I'd love to sell you a book, but I don't have one.
Right.
So I was super embarrassed, felt really unprepared for that environment. And flying home, again, I was still kicking rocks. And it just dawned on me, you're the AI guy. Write a book.
Absolutely.
Use AI to write a book. So I wrote my book. It's called Under the Red Hat, Strategies to Stand Out in a Crowded Marketplace. I wrote just about all of it with ChatGPT, except for chapter 3. It's the story of the Red Hat. ChatGPT didn't know the story, but I definitely buttered it up in ChatGPT after I wrote it. So, and one of the things that I did too was, it came out January of last year, and really I got a lot of flack because they're like, "You're not an author, you didn't write it," and this and that, right? But as it is today, about 3 weeks ago, I just signed a contract for the second edition of the book. And the publishing company that I signed with, they want me on their roster because it's an AI written book.
Interesting.
And one of the things that I did that I think was probably the differentiator was I put a 3-page disclaimer at the very front of the book. I didn't want people to think that I'm trying to claim that I wrote this book. I wanted them to know that I wrote it with AI. And I wanted them to know why I wrote it with AI and how it could potentially benefit them if they were to do the same thing.
Interesting.
So I didn't try to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. Very authentic, very upfront, very open and honest about the entire situation. But it's just been interesting to see the transition over the last year and 5 months where people are going, "That's not even a book. You're never going to be a bestseller, this and that," to publishing companies wanting to put me on the roster because it's an AI written book.
Now, is there any type of copyright issue when you have AI help you? I mean, I've read a few headlines that suggested something to that point.
I mean, we're starting to see some lawsuits that have come up where they are saying there's some copyright issues or that you can't copyright certain works. There's no definitive definition that I've seen as of yet that says you have to have this much human involvement if you use AI. People are looking for that percentage. Okay, if I use AI 20% to write my book, can I still copyright it? And that's still a very, very gray area.
Right.
There's just not a lot of precedence that's been set. However, if you were to self-publish, which is how I published my book through KDP, Amazon, you have to disclose as you go to publish that, and they ask you everything. Did you write this with AI? Did you design the cover with AI? They want to know if AI is on that book in any way, shape, fashion, or form. They don't stop you from publishing it.
Right.
But they do ask you, and I highly recommend that you say yes.
Yes.
And when you write a book too.
Matters.
Yeah, 100%. And I've got several clients, and matter of fact, one of them just brought me their book yesterday. It just came out, that have written their book with AI. But I tell them, we always need to disclose it. Everybody needs to know that you used AI to help you write the book. But it's really no different, in my opinion, than using any other tool that's out there.
Right.
You use proofreading tools that are out there. There's all Grammarly. There's all these different, autocorrect, all these tools.
Yeah.
That's all it is a tool.
Yeah.
So you're not going to ask it to write you a chapter and that chapter be a direct excerpt from another piece of print. It's just not going to be that way. But at the same time, I'm not advocating that you use ChatGPT, copy, paste, publish.
Right.
Copy, paste, read and edit.
Edit yourself.
Do your due diligence. Make sure it sounds like you. Make sure it feels like you. Make sure it's authentically you. Then publish. So a lot of people make the mistake of just ChatGPT straight to print or straight to social media or straight to whatever. And in all honesty, it's getting to where everybody can recognize AI-generated content. So there's a lot of work that goes involved in training the model to sound like you too. If you're not using custom instructions in ChatGPT that define who you are and what you do and what your goals are, it's not going to sound like you. It's going to sound very academic and very sterile. So my ChatGPT sounds a lot like me, I promise you. I love using the word cat daddy, like my hat, it's cat daddy. And ChatGPT, when it gives me content, will say, "Hey, this here is cat daddy." And I'm like, all right, cool. So you have to invest that time up front, and you have to do that due diligence after the fact as well.
Stay with us. The Growing Your Business podcast will return right after this. Ready to amplify your brand's voice? At Blue Mike Studios, we transform your ideas into captivating podcasts and videos. Whether you're launching your own show or guest starring on ours, we've got you covered. From recording and editing to social media promotion. With state-of-the-art 4K video and crystal clear audio, your content will shine. We offer guest packages on our podcasts and offer segments from the show for you to share. Or let us help you build your own branded podcast with custom strategy, branding, and full production support. Visit BlueMikeStudios.com today and let your voice be heard. Please check our show notes for sponsorship links and additional details. Now, back to the Growing Your Business podcast with Buddy Broyles. So for people who are interested in your AI training and consulting, walk me through the process. I mean, so you have an in-person, and of course, an online course or something. Talk me through those.
Yeah, it's typically consulting one-on-one.
Okay, great.
But there's also like a corporate level and enterprise level where we can come in and train your team or your teams on using ChatGPT and other AI tools as well. And actually, it's evolved a bit.
Oh, sure.
Doing some consulting now for, there's one project where we're streamlining the sales process for a staffing agency. Another one, I signed I think it was about a 9-page NDA, so I can't say a whole lot about it, but it's a chatbot that we're developing that's going to act as a bit of a tutor in certain arenas. So those types of things are starting to come and move to the forefront of some of the projects that we're working on. But the foundational element there is really just training people on how to use ChatGPT, how to make it sound like them, how to leverage all the tools that are there. Because, I mean, since it came out in November of 22, it's evolved so much.
Yeah.
I mean, the image generation was just updated, 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, and it does a tremendous job generating images now. And it can even get text right. And no longer do you have 6 fingers. You know, you get 5 actual fingers. So that's amazing.
Yes.
You know, it's
on the
got
same hand.
Yeah, on the same hand. Yeah. So and there's projects and all sorts of. I mean, I'm not here to laundry list the features and benefits of ChatGPT, but we come in and depending on what your goals are, we'll tailor fit the training to you.
And there are going to be laggards, just like any great innovation. And I'm talking the internet. Email. Once people started having email, there was a trail of years before people really understood. I know people that still have an at AOL.
Oh yeah,
or Yahoo and things like that. So
I still have a Yahoo.
There will always be the trailers. You know, so anyone who is the least bit curious needs to reach out to you because then at least they're not so far behind.
Sure,
because it's innovating so fast. And the next thing I wanted to mention to you is now there's voice. As in, instead of a chatbot, you sound like you're talking to or at least it sounds like.
I do it all the time. I
tell me about that.
The advanced voice feature, and I know this is a no-no, but we're going to try it.
Sure.
And please don't be too mad at me.
All right.
We're going to try to do a live demo here. Okay. All right. So let's see. Hey, Megan, you there? Hey, Megan. There you are. Hey, I thought you were gone. Are you still with me?
Absolutely. I'm right here with you. What's up?
Hey, I'm doing a podcast, and we're just talking about the advanced voice feature of ChatGPT. Give me 3 real quick, super short, succinct bullet points on what the benefits of using it are.
Sure thing. First, it makes interactions feel more natural and engaging. Second, it allows for real-time conversation, making it easier to brainstorm or get quick answers. Third, it's great for accessibility, letting users interact without needing to type.
Hey, thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
You're welcome. Talk to you soon.
So amazing.
Yeah.
Well done.
That's Megan.
Yeah.
I named her Megan because, there's that movie about the little AI robot that goes ballistic and starts killing everybody. And the name of the movie was Megan. And there's a sequel that's about to drop as well.
Interesting.
So I just wanted her to know that I know what she's capable of.
Yeah.
I know what you're capable of. Don't get too tricky on me.
Keep her at arm's length over there, yeah.
But it's funny because I found out about that dropping. It was about 2:30 in the morning. And I was in the living room at the house. And I was like, oh my God, because I watched a YouTube video and found it. And I'm like, I got to see if I have access. And I did. And I started talking to her about 2:30 in the morning. And I guess I woke the wife up and she's like, who are you talking to in there? I said, hey, man, it's just ChatGPT. And she's like, no, I'm not buying that. Who is that? And I literally had to show her that I was talking to ChatGPT. So it was almost a rough night.
There's a sitcom in the making.
Oh, 100%.
Maybe I'll call back to the old days of Three's Company, but one of them is Megan. Right. Or something. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see who the next Jack, the Tripper is.
Yeah, Jack Tripper.
Yeah, we'll see about that. So parting thoughts, you have so much information here. So what I offer everybody is scroll down to the show notes. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, just find all the information. I'm going to put everything you give me, Larry, so they can find information about you, how they can book you, listen to your podcast and all that. But parting thoughts for people who are just this, all of this is so overwhelming.
Sure.
And it's moving so fast. How can they absorb it at a reasonable pace and still run their business and be active in the business community?
I mean, that's one of the things that I have to do every day
Yeah.
is continuing education in this space because it is evolving so quickly. I literally dedicate time. I don't know why. I think once you hit 50, you start waking up about 4:30. It just happens, right?
Yep.
So I wake up about 4:30, and I'll go down and I'll grab me a nice tasty beverage, a Monster, and I'll crank up YouTube. And there's a couple of channels that I really love. Matt Wolf has an amazing channel that will keep you up to date on everything. He does a tremendous job in the industry. He has a weekly summary report that he does of all the changes in AI that week and all kinds of good stuff. It's a great channel.
Great.
So I'll watch his channel. I've also subscribed to probably a dozen different AI newsletters. And that's a great way, even just in the headings, to keep track of what's going on today in the world of AI. One of my favorites is There's an AI for That. That's the name of the newsletter. It's also a website that will go through. They've documented and they have links to all of the different AI tools that are out there. There's tens of thousands of AI tools. Yeah. And if you're looking for an AI tool for something in your business workflow, go to there'sanaiforthat.com, type in what you're looking for, and I'm going to bet there's probably some sort of solution. So that's the kind of thing that you do. You got to find resources that you can consume quickly, and you have to set that time aside to do it.
Right. And don't be afraid if you're an old person, air quote, like us. I'm older than you, so I can say that. Is because if you're not learning, you're going backwards.
100%.
Really. You know, so don't be afraid to learn this stuff. Just take it at your own pace and get the proper resources, which again are in the show notes. That Larry's
and you just have to do it. That's the thing. Okay, we're not going to get past this AI fad. It's not a fad. It's literally a revolution.
Yeah.
So if you're not using AI, somebody that's using AI is going to come in and they're going to surpass you. And if you want your business to stand out, you better start using the tools that are available.
That's awesome. Larry, I really appreciate you coming in the studio today and sharing all this great knowledge and the resources you have available.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, man.
Thank you for joining us today on the Growing Your Business podcast. Please see the show notes for links to our sponsors, our social media, and to learn more about today's guest.